It is really an honor for me to introduce our next guest speaker for this topic. He is Dr. Dele Ola. He's a professional engineer, a director of the Technology Access Center for Aerospace and Manufacturing, for short TCAM, at Red River College. He has a background in metallurgy and aerospace materials and had earned him a doctorate degree or a PhD at the University of Manitoba. In his work role, Dr. Dele serves as a major point of contact for applied research, technical services, and contract training for Manitoba's aerospace and manufacturing community. In his early career, Dr. Dele worked for Accenture, a global Fortune 500 company in the management consulting industry, contributing expertise in enterprise systems integration and technology consulting. Dr. Dele is also an author of a book which titled Be a Change Agent: Leadership in a Time of Exponential Change. His book was released on December 2020, and, and that book provides leaders at all levels a framework for honing to change leadership skills in order to become nimble and predetermine the responses to change in these unprecedented times. Without any further ado, please welcome Dr. Dele Ola. I think we need to have the slides ready.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Could you see my slide in full screen?
We can see your screen, Doctor.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Norman, and the entire Filipino member chapter, fellow engineers, and all our friends that are on the call today. It's my pleasure to be here, and I feel very honored to be invited to address everyone this afternoon. So we're going to be talking about how to become a visionary leader of change for your team. This is a very broad topic, and it's not a topic that we can quite exhaust within 30 minutes, but we'll start with lay a foundation, and we'll be building on that foundation. I also thank the previous speaker, Kim, for introducing us to leadership in a different way. And what this next one is going to be doing for us is that we're going to be building on that. And there is a word that we are introducing to leadership, and that is change. Now, what to expect today through this presentation. Number one, we'll be looking at the idea of change and change leadership. So it's introducing that word change to leadership. We'll examine that. And secondly, we'll be looking at our responsibilities as leaders or as agents of change. I want you to think, to learn, to communicate, to interact. And the key question to ask yourself at the end of the day today is, what would I learn and implement in my own leadership journey? Part of the presentation today is that I also want it to be a bit interactive. So there'll be a few points in the discussion where I would ask you as the audience to participate. It will be very simple and easy. So get ready to be part of this presentation. That is one. The second one is that at the end of my presentation, I'm going to be asking 3 different questions. And the persons that answer the questions correctly will get an audiobook giveaway. So I'm giving 3 audiobooks out today. So what you need to do to be able to answer those questions is just to follow along and pay attention to the discussion. So let's begin. Era of new change. Now, notice the way I titled this, I didn't say a new era of change. I said era of new change. And what do I mean by that? If you look at the rate of change, say 50 years ago or 60 years ago, what you called fast those days is not the same thing as fast today. It looks very much like fast is faster. And that's what I call the new change. The word to use to describe change today will be exponential or accelerating. It is no news that things are moving very quickly all over the world. Now, it is important for us to plan. Planning is important. You cannot succeed without planning, but our plans are also expendable. Now, what do I mean by plan being expendable? If you had a plan 2 years ago that will take you for 5 years, that plan may need to be revisited today so that you can update the plan or actually just put aside the plan and do another plan, because plans are expendable. The plans that you made last year or last week or 20 years ago will not serve you today. Plans are expendable. And we can feel the impact of change everywhere, whether it is technology, economic systems, social, cultural, political systems, every area of human endeavor. We can feel this impact of change, whether it is change that we have control over, or it is change uh, that is unexpected. We have changes happening everywhere. Now, let me give you a typical example of what I call change. Let's take technology, for example. If you were to conduct a poll, maybe in the 60s or the 70s, and you ask a group of enlightened people what technologies would shape the future, the list of technologies that you see on the screen, that is what you will arrive at. And you can figure this out by conducting a very simple internet search. Remote control, computer hard disk, microchip. I remembered in the 1990s into some earlier part of the 2000s, everybody that went to engineering school wanted to study microelectronics. Things like computer programming, having personal computer, credit card, video cassette recorder in the 70s. Those were technologies that were perceived to shape the future. However, if you fast forward 30 to 40 years later, in fact, I was privileged to meet with a group of engineers less than 2 years ago at the NGOMB Ingenium conference. I was invited to speak at one of the PD sessions, and I conducted a poll asking the same questions. So I asked my group, about 29 engineers sitting in the room, what technologies will shape the future? And this is what we got. Now, look at what is on the right compared to what is on the left. You will notice that in 30 to 40 years, the technologies that will shape our future changed 100%. None of the technologies that were perceived to change the future 50 years ago would change the future today. Now, the truth is that if we conduct this poll in another 30 years or 40 years, the results may be different again altogether. And that is what we mean by change. Things are changing very quickly. And this is not limited to technology, the socio-political system. If you look at climate change, everything is all changing around us. Now, let's look at a few facts about change. The first one, nothing can improve without change. Change makes growth possible. Now, you would have heard a lot of people that would say that they want to improve something about themselves. Maybe they want to double their income. They want to become a manager. They want to do big things in their lifetime. And they don't want anything to change. That is not going to happen. The only thing that guarantees improvement or growth in our lives is change. The second fact is that nothing can succeed without change. Change makes success possible. If you want to succeed in anything that you are doing, you must be open to change, because change will happen whether you do something or you don't do anything. Now, the third thing is that it is not every change that leads to an improvement. Change must be guided. The fact that things are changing doesn't mean that it's changing for the better. You would have seen in a lot of organizations, you hire someone new in the system and then they put their hands in everything. They want to change everything. They want to show that a new person is on ground. In many cases, we've seen systems change for the worse, because it's not every change that leads to an improvement. The fourth fact here is that change will happen irrespective of what we do or neglect to do. Change is inevitable. There are certain changes that will happen in our lifetime that we will not have control over. So Whether we do something or not, change will happen. And the last point here that I want to make is that everyone has the potential to be an agent of change. Every single one of us. And I will describe this a little bit further later. Now, I have a poll for you. This is where you participate. Now, this is what you're going to do for me. If you have a mobile device with a camera, you can just switch on your camera and point it to the barcode on the screen. If you don't want to do that, you can just go to slido.com and then enter that code 73669. It's quite very straightforward. Slido.com, it will present you with a screen asking for the code. Just put 73669 and it will take you into the pool. So in one word, what should we do with change? What choices do we have? That is the question. So what choices do we have? No, this is the question is what we are answering. So in one word, what should we do with change? I haven't known some of those things, but I see embrace on the screen. In one word, what should we do with change? You can enter as many as you want. So I can see adapt, acceptance, accept, embrace. You can enter as many as you want. I've seen 11 people have participated so far. Adapt, embrace, accept, study, create, act. So let's open this for about 30 more seconds or 1 minute more. 14 people have participated. I think we're up to 50 something on the call. Please feel free to go to slido.com. Let's deal with this. Embrace, adapt, enjoy, learn from, flexibility, some said research, ready to embrace change, adopt change. Okay, we have 20 people participating so far. Do we have more people? I encourage us to just go to that site. Let's participate. Let's have at least 50% of everybody on the call today do this. So I can see adapt at the very center there. It looks like many more people are voting for adapt. I see embrace, learn from, sustain, listen, become the change that we want to see in the world. That's great. So the poll is going to close in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So let's assume the poll is closed. If you are entering things, it will still be coming in. But at the very center is adapt. So it looks like everyone agrees that we have to adapt to change. And there are so many other responses that we can have. Now let's move on in this presentation. Our options are clear. And let me just break this down to 5 key things that we can do to change. Now, the first one, which I did not quite see in the poll, is to do nothing. Nobody said that. We can do nothing. Yeah, nothing is a choice too. But when we do nothing about change, what will happen is that you become a victim of the circumstance. If that change is inevitable and you do nothing, you become a victim of the circumstance. Secondly, you can choose to resist change. I don't think I saw that too. That's also a choice. Someone can choose to resist change. If you resist change, there are 2 things that are possible. 2 things possible if you resist change. Now, if that change is a moving train, such that you can't really resist it, then you are going to get run over. That is the first thing that can happen when you resist change. Now, if the change is such that you can actually stand in the way and resist it, maybe because you are influential, then you'll become a stumbling block. So 2 things. You can either get run over or you become a stumbling block. Now, the third possible response to change is that we can accept change and we do what is needful to adapt to the change. Now, these first 3 options, there are responses when change is inevitable. You can do nothing, you can resist it, you can accept change. But the fourth response is when we can actually influence the change or change the change. So you can plan for it, you can manage it, you can control it, or change the change to achieve a desired outcome. And the last one here, which all of us have also agreed to, is that we can create the change that we need to see in the world. We can create the change that we need to see in the world. And in fact, the reason why we have to be on top of change is that we need to live deliberately. We don't want to just let the future happen to us. The future should not be by happenstance. We shouldn't just fold our hands and watch the whole world just happen to us. We must embrace change. We must create the change that we need to see in the world. Now, let's look at this concept of being an agent of change. What does this mean? And remember, we are here to introduce the word leader so far, but let's look at who is a change agent. Now, the first fact that I want to establish is that we all have potentials. And I call potentials those latent abilities, our gifts, talents, untapped skills, natural endowments, untapped resources. Every single one of us is born with something unique to them. Whether you have found it or not, whether you have acknowledged it or not, every single person, there is no person, even if you are born with some form of disabilities, you still have some latent abilities that is unique to you. Unfortunately, many people go through life and get to the end of life without ever discovering or developing them. So we have the responsibility to discover that which is unique to us and develop those potentials. Thirdly, we can use our developed potentials to positively transform various aspects of human experience. The reason you are naturally endowed with anything whatsoever is for you to profit with it, is for you to do something with it. So we can use those talents, we can use those gifts, and we can all contribute something that is positive to the society. Now, that makes us agents of change. So every single one of us has the potential to become an agent of change. There is no myth there. There is nothing special about it. Every single person on earth can be an agent of change. Now, I'm introducing the word lead. So let's talk about lead or leadership for the first time. Change agents lead change in their areas of niche using their gifts, talents, and abilities. That makes me to begin to think that leadership doesn't really have anything to do with any kind of authority over anybody. So when you have an area of niche, you have something that is unique to you that you are capable of, that you can naturally flow into, that you have discovered and developed about yourself, and you carve that niche for yourself, you begin to lead. So leadership does not begin when you have positional authority over people. Leadership begins when you begin to harness all those natural skills, talents, and abilities that you have. Now, that makes me to make this call to every one of us here today. The world needs more agents of change to drive change. Number one, we need change agents to help us to initiate change, to embrace change, to lead positive change in the world. We need a more authentic type of leadership, the type of leadership that is superior to that traditional approach. And I will talk about the traditional approach soon. We need a more consistent, principle-based approach to leadership, and we need change agents who are equipped with the right skills for success in a world that does not remain the same. This is a call. Now, continuing in my call, we need real leaders. Just look at this table. On the left, I've listed what we don't need. And on the right, I've listed what we need. We don't need more managers in leadership. We need more leaders in management. And I'm going to be drawing a distinction between leadership and management very shortly. I know the first speaker did not delve into that area, but I dare to do that a little bit as we move forward. And thank you very much, Kim, for the clarification. We don't need more politicians in leadership. We need more leaders in politics. We don't need more technocrats in leadership. We need more leaders in technocracy. And we don't need more administrators in leadership. We need more leaders in administration. Now, this concept of change leadership, let's now combine change and leadership together, change leadership. I put up two different definitions here. The first one from Higgs and Rowland gives us like a classic academic definition of change leadership: the ability to influence and enthuse others through personal advocacy, vision, and drive, and to access resources to build a solid platform for change. Classic, academic. But let's look at it from a more practical perspective from Dr. Miles Monroe. He He said the most matured act on earth is to initiate change. A leader is a leader because they initiate change. If you want to be a leader, you have to be a person who initiates change. How do you recognize a change leader? A change leader is a change leader because they initiate change. And even if we delete the word change from leadership, a leader is a leader because they initiate change. The way we know a leader is because they carry a vision to do something, a vision to create a future for themselves and for others around them. So if you are not a person that initiates change, you shouldn't be considered a leader, basically. Now, I have another thing for you here. It's another poll. Let's participate again. Again, slido.com, 73669. Are leaders born? uh, no one is born a leader. Leaders are made, or leaders are both born and made. What do you think? Or none of the above? So you have answers coming in. No one is born a leader. Leaders are made. Leaders are both born and made. Leaders are born. Okay, I have 12 people voted so far. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Okay, we have 21 people so far. Let's try to get it to 25, 26 before we close the poll. We have many more people participating. So it looks like the majority are saying that leaders are both born and made. So quite a number of people think that no one is born a leader, that leaders are made. Okay, let's close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and close. Now, this puts us in a dilemma. What do we do about this poll now? Okay, let me explain how this goes. Now, if you remember, I did mention that all of us have our latent abilities. So that means that everyone has the potential to become a leader. But becoming a leader, between you having your latent abilities and latent gifts and becoming the leader, a series of things that you will need to go through, which is your growth opportunity, your self-discovery, your personal leadership. That process makes you a leader. So the reality is that every one of us can be a leader, but we must become the leader. We all have the potential to be, but we must become the leader. And remember that the definition of leadership in this case does not have anything to do with positional authority over people. And that is why I want to clear some of these misconceptions. Number one, this misconception about the exclusivity of leadership. Leadership is not exclusive to anyone. We have people that are leading in the world today, and it is very easy for people that have never had an opportunity to be in those kind of positions or in those kind of areas to think that, well, maybe it's exclusive to those people. But that is a myth. Everyone can be a leader. The second one is this issue with traditional leadership, the one that is positional, authoritative, privilege-based, or command and control type of leadership, especially in many organizations today. In most cases, we see people use or misuse the authority that they have over people. Having that positional authority does not automatically translate to real leadership. You are not a leader because you have positional authority, because you are a president or vice president or director of something over anybody. That is traditional in nature. So that misconception about traditional leadership, we have to put it aside. And lastly, this issue of leadership versus management. We tend to demand leadership from people in positions of authority because they have management roles, maybe they are managers, they are directors, or whoever they are. We tend to demand leadership from them. Whereas leadership and management do not exactly mean the same thing. Now look at this. Management would focus on goals, processes, task, activities. It's about getting the work done. It's about maintaining an hierarchy within the organization to move the organization forward. But when you look at leadership, the focus is more on vision, on strategy, and on change. Management may focus on maintaining the existing systems, ensuring that things are running well. But in leadership, we talk about improving the existing system and, in fact, developing new systems. Management may focus on structure, system, policies, and on administration, whereas leadership would focus on people, on growth, and on building. In management, we talk about positional authority. In leadership, we talk about influence. And in management, we tend to build controls, we manage risk, but in leadership, we develop trust, creating opportunities. So someone can be in management position and be a leader, or they may be in management position and not be a leader. And I like to submit this quote from Jack Welch, who was the legendary CEO of General Electric. He said, before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. And I want us to think about that very critically as we move into the second part of our discussion. Your leadership responsibilities as an agent of change. Now, before I go too far, I just want to establish the context for this one. Number one, we all work in different areas, corporate organizations, businesses, teams. We don't work in isolation. Nobody becomes successful just on their own. Everyone needs one another. A tree does not make a forest. So we work in systems, we work in teams. The second one, we have people in positions of authority who do not know how to initiate change, lead change, or influence other people for change. I've seen this over and over. People that are given a lot of opportunity to lead, but they don't know how to do this. And then we have people who are willing to lead change, but they are yet to develop the skills that are needed for success. So let's look at it from here. Visionary leadership, the number one need of any team. If you have a team, whether small or big, at your place of work, at your club, wherever you have sports, at home, whatever it is, the number one need of any team is visionary leadership. If there is no vision, there is no destination, so nothing is working. So let's look at it from that perspective. Now, as a leader, you are the ship captain for your team. I took this picture at Prince Edward Island in 2018. I was just looking through the window of one of the rooms in Holland College, and I saw the cruise ship coming in, and that inspired something in me. So as a leader, you are the ship captain. What are the responsibilities of a ship captain? Let's look at the 6 responsibilities of the ship captain. Now, what we are going to do is that we'll look at what a ship captain does, and we'll compare that to the responsibilities of a leader. Remember, I said as the leader, you are the captain of your ship. The first responsibility of the ship captain is to prepare the ship before sailing. Before embarking on the journey, the captain has the overall responsibility for the seaworthiness, managing inventory, finance, recruitment, overall readiness of the ship. Number 2, the ship directs navigation, sets the vessel's position, the course, the communication, equipment, adjusting navigation to weather condition. In fact, the ship captain is the sail handler of the ship. That is number 2, directing navigation. Number 3, leading the crew. Now, the ship captain shares the big picture, day-to-day leadership of the entire crew, using tools, equipment, and information on board the ship is their responsibility, managing all the communication needs, changes, delegating responsibilities to all the other, maybe there are pilots on the ship and other people that are handling things on the ship, and they have the overall human resource responsibility in the ship. So number 3 is leading the crew. Number 4 is ensuring compliance. In most cases, there are regulations that guide safe vessel operations in international borders, waterways, and all that. There is health and safety issues, security, medical issues. The ship captain will ensure that there is compliance. Number 6, they maintain records and documentation. And the operations, the transactions, maintenance, navigation, information, incident report, and all of that, they are the responsibilities of the ship captain, they make sure that they delegate the right authority to each person on the ship that is responsible for various areas. There has to be records and documentation. And the last one is that they take overall responsibility. So if there is damage to the ship, damage to the goods, embarking, disembarking, how many people came in, how many people went out, was there death on the ship, and things like that. They have overall responsibility. Now, I have the next poll for you here. Based on the 6 responsibilities of the ship captain, can you list for us here what the responsibility of a team leader would be? Just comparing the ship captain with the team leader or a leader in an organization. What do you think the responsibilities would be? Again, slido.com 73669, responsibilities of a leader. So this is going to come as a list. So someone said guide. So providing guidance to the team is one of them. More support motivates the team. Empower the team. Support the vision. Navigate, to listen. We have 8 people that have participated so far. 9, stand with them. Visionaries, so they create and share the vision. They ensure safety. Okay, we have 14 people so far. They define the purpose for the team, mentoring, inspire, work with others. So we have 20 people. Let's allow about 30 more seconds to delegate. Okay, so somebody's talking about failure there. Well, we learn from failures to overall guidance, train someone to be a leader. Excellent, accountability, and many more. We have 26 people so far. 27, lead the team through situations, whether it is good or bad. Provide opportunity. Mentor, lead the way. Go, they set the goals. Okay, let's close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The last one I had there was I have strategy, and then I have lead the way. Now, what I've done for us here is that I've done some research, and you will see the reflection of everything that you've said on the poll. You will see them here. I've broken this down to what I call the 12 responsibilities of an effective leader. And I can give you access to this if you want it. The program is recorded so that you can refer to it. The first one is to develop, shape, and share the team vision. So you need to let your members know the big picture, engage your imagination to define where the team is going. If there is no destination, everybody loses a sense of direction. So it is the responsibility of the leader to tell us where we're going. Secondly, to recruit and select team members. This is very crucial. One of the ways a team can succeed, especially when you are leading the team, is to select and recruit the right people into the team. It's a serious business. The quality of the people determines the quality of the team. The third one is to provide direction and guidance to the team. We've mentioned that, we can't overstate that. The team's activities must align with the vision. The fourth is to foster effective communication within the team. Again, in the last presentation, we heard a lot about about communication. And there I like to say that communication is to your team what the central nervous system is to your body. If there is a breakdown in the central nervous system, there is going to be a problem between the parts of your body and your brain. So the team cannot function sustainably or effectively without communication. Communication is important. Number 5 is to coach and engage the team. And again, we've mentioned it. Provide information, clarify issues. Let your team know what's happening. Provide guidance to them. Number 6 is to identify and develop talents and competencies within the team. Grow your leaders from within. Allow people to evolve, develop their talents. Number 7 is to provide opportunities for team members to express their gifts, talents, and abilities. Don't push people down. Allow them to have an expression, to use what they have to explore their abilities to grow the business or whatever the outcome of your team is. Number 8 is to develop other leaders within the team. That is it. It is leaving a legacy. It is passing on the baton to other people. You have to develop other leaders within the team. Number 9, to interface with other internal and external bodies to support your team. Because you are on the side of your team, you are not against your team. You have to harness all opportunities to sustain, to maintain a strong tie with other people that can help to support what you're achieving in your team, to represent the interests of your team when interacting with other external entities. That is number 10. So you are a representative of your team. You stand by your team. You become an advocate for your team. Stand in the gap for them. Attend external meetings. Get into the community on behalf of your team. Number 11 is to serve as the team's gatekeeper. Let your team members trust you through your actions and your representation. Work with other leaders to serve your team. And the last one is to become the role model of the culture of your team. Model it. The precedence that you set as a leader matters a lot. Set a good one. Develop a positive team culture. Show your members how to work together. You need to model it. Everyone is looking up to you. If you model it, they will do it. I've been asked a lot of questions in the past about this when people ask me, what if they brought you from somewhere to lead a team that is already broken? So you inherit a team that is already broken. How do you navigate that? How do you change things? My simple answer to that is that when a leader shows up, everything changes. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Sometimes it's very difficult for us to wrap our heads around that, but it is true. When a leader shows up, everything changes. And I think I'm going to stop there for today. The discussion, again, like I said, talking about change leadership is not something that we can exhaust on a single day. Now, we have questions and comments, but before we do that, I just want to say to Nancy, people can ask, maybe we can treat 1 or 2 questions first, and then we'll go into the audiobook giveaway, and then we'll return back again to question and answers if we have additional time. I just want to make sure that I fulfill my promise that I made at the beginning. Thank you very much.
I agree with you, Dr. Deli. Again, we would like to, the table is open for questions coming from our live participants, or you can also type your questions on the chat. So I have a first question, Dr. Deli. Here's the question. How can one discover their gift or their talent, latent abilities? Does a passion, interest, an indicator to be recognized? Is there any external factor that can help one realize their latent gifts?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very interesting question. So I agree that, many people teach about, discover your gifts, find your potential. And then the question is, how do we do that? How do you do that? Now, one of the ways to do it is to throw yourself out there. So in most cases, if you do not experiment with life and you don't create the experience for yourself to find out what you are good at or what you are naturally inclined to do, you will not discover it. So you have a lot of people that pull back. So for example, you're given an opportunity to make a public presentation and you pull back, you say, no, I'm shy, I don't want to do that. So assuming that you have the latent ability to be the best speaker in the whole world, you will never discover that if you don't push yourself out there. So it is in trying to experiment, trying to push our limits, to step out of our comfort zone that we discover who we are. So in most cases, people have gifts and talents that are not realized, that are not developed, not because they don't have it, but because they did not try to push themselves out of their boundaries. So part of it is pushing yourself out of your boundary, learn new things, visit new places, do something new, learn what you have never learned before, try things. And before you know it, you discover some of those areas where you are gifted, where you have that natural inclination to grow and become the leader in them.
Thank you, Dr. Dalit. That is a question. That is my questions, and I think you answered it very well. So it's a personal vindications or an initiative that we had to act in order to develop our own given gifts, and without trying, we will fail to develop and hone and develop that. We'll fail to discover and hone and develop it. Thank you, Dr. Daly. So we have another question, and the question is coming from Norman Padilla. What qualities should I develop to be a leader of change? What are the essential qualities to be a leader?
Okay, so thank you, Norman, for that question. There are so many qualities to develop to be a leader. There is no one hat fits all in this case. And one thing I want to say is that leadership in itself is a journey, and every single one of us is at a different stage in that leadership development journey. So in most cases, we act based on what we know today, and that is okay. As much as we know, we act based on what we know, but there is always a room for improvement, room for us to become better people. So in my book, I did spell out what I call the veritas, the seven personal attributes of leaders of change. So I just looked at those seven as fundamental. So they are not seven. So they include like something like vision, like emotional stability. We talked about having a resolved, being independent, being tough, having audacity, being able to collaborate with other people. So there are so many of them. But if you ask me what is the one important quality of a leader, I would say you should focus on vision. So I've mentioned that a few times here. What makes people leaders is because they have vision. Let me give you an example. Look at Nelson Mandela. So we all talk about him today, about his success and all that. But this is a person that had vision. He wanted to see the emancipation of his people. He wanted to see the end to apartheid, and he fought through his life to make sure that his race had that. So I would say that vision is very important. Sometimes all other things are such that you can have people to help you. So if you need to be tough in some areas, you may have team members that are tougher than you are. They help you to move things forward. But without vision, there is no leadership. That is what makes you a leader. The fact that you have a destination, you have a place that you're going. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Daly. Uh, I have another one here. In addition to school organizations slash teams, what can students or new grads do right now to be make themselves better leaders or to start becoming a leader? I guess that's
Okay.
kind of similar.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to the last one. So if you are a new grad, I think you need a vision for your life. That's very important. I have written a few things about this in the past, talking about myself just leaving university in those days, and I actually had a 16-year plan that would take me from that age till the next 16 years. So that act of vision itself was very significant. A lot of young people don't do that. They don't have a plan. There is no vision. So did I hit every single part of what I wrote down? Maybe largely. There are some of the things that I missed. There are some that did not go exactly the way I wanted it, but at least I had a plan. I had a plan that I could revisit every year. So the question to ask yourself is, where are you going? What are your goals in life? What keeps you awake? What do you love to do? In the next 20 years of your life, where would you want to be? I think those are very important. So going to school and graduating is great. And we shouldn't just see life as, going to school, graduating and getting a job. Getting a job is good, but getting a job should be part of your journey to your destination. So if getting a job is part of that thing that leads you to your ultimate vision in life, great, go for it. So I think it's mostly around planning. Every graduate must sit back and channel a course for their own future. Ask yourself, where do I want to be in the next 20 years? And create a plan for that you can revisit every year and update. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Daly. That question is coming from what's his name is I'm sorry, Gypsum Agrabante. So thank you, Gypsum. I have another question here that is for you, Dr. Deli. It is possible to email a copy of the presentations to all our participants?
Yes, it's possible. And this event is also recorded. So you can have access to the video, which is preferable. You can just, replay it so that you have access to both the voice and the content at the same time.
Thank you again. I have a question coming from Harkinder's Galaxy A71. So his questions, if you are sensitive change manager, how do you proceed with the change?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Sensitive change manager?
It looks like he's a person who's probably have, I don't know, some um sensitivity or some sort
Okay.
of bias, maybe from coming from the bias aspect, personal perspective wise. I maybe
Yeah,
Carpenters can
that's
clarify
okay.
that.
I think we can answer that question. So talking about being sensitive and all that, I think it may boil down to emotional maturity. And one of the key qualities of a change leader is that they are emotionally stable. So how you perceive yourself and you perceive others is very important. How you see yourself and you see others is very important. Your self-concept is very important. Your relationships are important. And how you navigate those relationships to solve problems is very important. So as leaders, one of the first things that you need to deal with is yourself. You have to be sure that you are stable emotionally. There are times when we are under pressure. There are times when we meet with people who probably are not happy with themselves, or we meet with oppositions, we meet with things that are difficult to deal with. Our ability to settle into those situations and objectively look at things is very important as leaders. So I would say that in dealing with things that are sensitive, it's more about emotional maturity, and everyone needs to build that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dali. I have another question here, which is coming from David. So, would staying a long time in a position you like to be counter to progressing in your career, or you need to change constantly?
Okay. So staying in a single position for the rest of your career life or changing it constantly depends on what you're changing into. So the only thing that is constant in life is change. We need to always evolve. We need to be growing. So there are certain situations where you may be in the same position and still be growing. If that is the situation, yes, you can stay there and keep growing. And sometimes uh, the need for growth may necessitate that you change what you're doing. Then you need to make the move. What is mostly important is to avoid being stagnant in your career or being stagnant in whatever you do. Every one of us has greater potentials than what we are doing right now. So one of the things that I used to tell people is that uh, everyone can be better than their best. That is counterintuitive. Why would you say that I can be better than my best? This is my best. You see, people say that I've done my best, I've done my best. Well, the truth is that the biggest room in the world is still the room for improvement. Your best can still be better. So how do you want to plan to grow in what you're doing? If your place of work provides growth for you, you have opportunities, you're growing, you are becoming a better person every day, you can stay in that role and keep growing. But if you have noticed that you are stagnant, you need to progress and do something different. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dali. We have still more time, I guess, to allow more questions. I have one here coming from Ray Satur. The question is, as I age, I noticed that the most profitable companies just use leadership as catchphrase to promote their interest. They take people, quote unquote, their most precious resources as number only. Good leaders, if they are not the owners of their business, ends up opposing or becomes a hindrance of company profit-oriented goals. It's kind of an elaborate question, but I think
Yeah.
the way Maybe
Yeah,
you
I
can.
think I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
And it's very unfortunate that that happens. It is true that a lot of organizations are not run very well out there. It is true that there is a lot of favoritism. There is a lot of, putting people in positions of authority that are incompetent or that are not the most qualified in terms of their leadership capacity. We've seen it. Some are political, some are just ordinary favoritism and all that. Unfortunately, if you are not at the helm of affairs, I'm not sure how much of that you can change. The first opportunity that you have to change the world is within your own reach, within your own niche, within your own area. And if you are dealing with a system that is, in quotes, bigger than you are, I think we can just keep watching until we have the opportunity to be able to change something. It's just an unfortunate situation, and I'm not sure exactly what to do. A lot of public organizations may be like that, and a lot of the very large organizations where you see that, someone, whether competent or not, they're being groomed for that position as if it's a family business or something like that. We've seen a lot of that, but it's just an unfortunate situation. But that is not what the world needs. We need objective opportunity for people to handle leadership positions.
Thank you, Dr. Deli. I think you answered that question very well. I have another one, which is coming from Chris Basilio. The question is, how important is it to have a mentor to become an agent of change? Can you succeed without having one?
Yeah, so it depends on what you're looking at, Chris. So I have a lot of mentors that I've never met for once in my life. So if that is what you mean, so I think the most important thing here is to learn. So whether you have a formal mentor or not, what is important is that you are standing on the shoulders of people that have gone ahead of you. So I think that is what is important. So what can you learn from the experiences of others? That could be by relating directly with them, calling them coach or mentor, or it could actually be that you relate with them through some of the, maybe their teachings, their lectures, their videos, their whatever they have, their books, whatever they have, where they have packaged their knowledge. The truth is that if you have one mentor, the mentor will not be a know-it-all mentor. They have areas of life where they are lacking too. So the way to have the all-round knowledge is to make sure that we have, we learn from a variety of people. So for me, I have, when you say career, maybe I have somebody I talk to. When you say marriage, maybe I have somebody I talk to. And, when you talk about, say, relationships, I have somebody I talk to. It could be like that. So for different areas of life, we need mentoring. And that mentoring doesn't have to be a physical connection. It could be that we just learn from those people from afar. Thanks.
Thank you. In addition to Chris, he had another clarification question, which I think an additional one. He said, will personality type have an impact to become an agent of change? I guess so.
Uh, Personality type. I'm not sure what you mean by personality type. Maybe is it that you are introvert, extrovert, you are sanguine, or you are choleric, or whatever kind of classification is out there. Does it affect your ability to be a leader? Now, going back to the definition of leadership, if it has nothing or much less to do with having positional authority over people, I think it doesn't matter what kind of personality you have. So if you look at, say, Beethoven, the great pianist, these are people that did not command a million people. Yet through their work, they led the whole world in an area of niche, right? And then you have people like, say, Barack Obama, who is always talking, right? We see them in public spaces. We have our leaders here in Canada also. We have from history, Abraham Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, and many other people that are very vocal and have that personality that is charismatic. So you don't have to be charismatic to be a leader. So if leadership is about leading in your area, I've seen people that are leading organizations and they are not the spokesperson. They have positions of authority, they are leaders, but they are surrounded by other leaders. So you see them taking the back seat in many occasions because they are introverts, but they have people that are taking care of the front side for them. So I don't think it really matters that much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dele. I think I have a couple more questions as we are kind of approaching to our time. So I have here from Ray Ramos, as a leader, how do you effectively drive, facilitate necessary changes when this affects the comfort zones of your team?
So change will affect the comfort zone of everybody. Change is challenging. So I think what we need to define is what is the common good and what is the greater good. So if the change is good for everyone, you need to sell it to them that way and let them understand the change that is coming and how it affects everyone. And you still need to move ahead and make the positive change. So I think it's about what is in it for everybody. As long as everyone in the team wins at the end of the day, and the change is good for everyone and is good in a greater way, I think you should look at it from that perspective.
Thank you, Dr. Dele. One more last questions. I think I have here from Lisa Pasajo. Leaders have their own style too. The most of the time, you represent the whole team you lead. When is the right or permitted time you prioritize yourself, or will you be ineffective if you had the thought, though you are already a leader? Or this attitude should be part of something must be changed?
Yeah, so you represent the team, and when it's right or permitted time, you prioritize yourself or you'll be an ineffective. So I don't think any leader should put themselves before the cause that they are working for in the team. So one of the great qualities of leaders is that they are selfless in their approach. So sometimes you even take the blame on behalf of the team. Sometimes you are beaten or battered because of the team. It's part of what comes with leadership. And those kind of leadership is very rare today. You see people quickly excuse themselves. When something is not going well, they quickly excuse themselves. That is his fault or that is her fault. But in leadership, we know it's not like that. It's more of servant leadership. So if you want to be the leader, you should actually be the servant of all. And that's it. So anyone that doesn't want to stand on behalf of the team should not actually be the leader.
Thank you, Dr. Dele. And I think I have covered a lot of the question raised. And I really do thank everyone who participated on the question and answers. And Dr. Dele Ola, your presentations is really, really worth of our time, had left us some good tips to become an agent as a leader of change in the future. So thank you very
Yeah.
much. We really do
So
appreciate
Nancy,
your time.
yeah, Nancy, I still have the audiobook giveaway. I want to make sure that I do that. So on the screen, I put on the screen, I have the first to answer the question gets a free author's direct audiobook of my book, Be a Change Agent. So I want to give 3 of my books out, but you need to answer this question. So I need your help, Nancy, and maybe, I don't know if Norman is still there because it's going to be the first finger, whoever types it first. So I'm going to present the 3 questions, and I want people in the call today to respond to the questions. So the first one is in the Slido poll on what should we do with change? Which of the responses was voted the most? Adapt. So we have Ray Ramos was the first person to say it. So it's Ray Ramos. Let's note him down.
Okay, I'm trying to. Is that on the chat that he answered it?
It's on the chart. Yeah, it's on the chat. So we can monitor that from the chat.
Oh, he said adapt.
Yeah. Hi, I got it.
Yeah, he got it. So that's Ray. So the second one is this. Try to mention 3 of the 6 responsibilities of the ship captain as discussed in Dele's presentation. You have to mention the 3 at once. It has to be in a single chart. So mention 3 of them.
It's not in order again, like following your.
No, it doesn't have to be in order. I have them written here. Now, so navigate, lead, and prepare. I think Inamaka got it. So
Yeah.
navigate, lead,
Lead,
prepare.
team, prepare. Okay.
Yes. Namaka.
Nameka. It's Nameka Ugudelinwa.
Yes.
So you're the winner. So you got already 2 winners.
So the last one is right here. So Dele discussed 2 specific things that can happen when we resist change. Mention one of the 2. When you resist change, 2 things can happen. Mention one of them. Run over. That is Dino John. Dino John got it. Yeah.
You
Dino
need to answer
John.
it two answers, right? 2 things.
Yeah, but there is only one to mention. You have to mention only one of the
Oh,
2.
okay.
So I guess that's it. So Dino John got it.
Yep.
So we have 3 winners. We have Ray Ramos, we have Vinda Amaka, and also Dino John C. That's funny. So I'll get your email addresses and I will send you the code to download the audiobook. So otherwise, that's all I have for all of you today. We can connect on through my website, or my email address is there for the members to access. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dele Ola. That's a very good presentation. And if you guys have any questions, you can email him at his email address on the slides. And your book are available at all the bookstores, Dr. Dele, right?
Yes.
Okay, I want to get one.